Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Talk. This is Yu Tsai. Thank you for joining me. I have such an exciting week this week. All the ladies who are joining me on a conversation this week are Sports Illustrated swimsuit models, and they also have a lot of stuff going on. So we get to meet each one of them and discover their journey, how they became models, and what they're working on next. And today, my guest is none other than Myla. Oh, Myla, your last name is so hard to say. Can you say it for us?
Dalbesio, Myla Dalbesio, that's me.
Dalbesio. That sounds like a delicious meal.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I'm cooking, it is.
Well, I'm so happy to have Myla here today. And you guys, just so you know, Let's Talk as an initiative that for every guest that comes on the show, we are donating 500 masks to first responders. With MJ Day's help, with editor-in-chief of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit, she's distributing them for us in New York City. So with Myla's contribution today as well, together we're donating 1,000 masks today to first responders. So thank you guys so much, and thank you, Myla. And for those of you who wish to help and know what we're doing, here's the website address. Welcome to visit, and anything helps. And with that being said, let's jump right into Let's Talk, Myla.
Yay!
Well, where are you right now, Myla?
I'm at my apartment in Brooklyn, just chilling.
Chilling. You're in a hot spot. This is a tough time over there.
Yeah, it's really surreal because, you know, it's very, we're just like staying home in our apartment, chilling, and inside it's very calm. And then every morning I read the news and it's crazy. So everyone's asking me, like, how are you doing? Is everything okay in New York? And for us, we're like, well, we're fine. We're just sitting inside our apartment all day.
Well, you're not just sitting inside your apartment.
Bravo, you know, it's fine. But,
well, you're contributing and helping to the first responders today, and we get to talk today. So we're going to inspire some people today. Let's hope.
Yes.
Well, this conversation has been amazing. And since the isolation, we've been together and we've been working on just trying to give as much good energy out there as possible. And I thought you'd be an amazing guest on here because you have so much to say.
Sometimes too much to say.
Never too much, especially at this time. I love them. I love somebody who loves to share. Well, I love to jump in right away, just let everybody know how we met. So Myla and I met at 2018 Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot, and we were in Aruba together. And some of the images you see behind me are from our trip. That was a fantastic trip because we weren't so far away from home, but at the same time, it was so exotic and beautiful. And just so you guys can see up close, we shot with flamingos. How was that?
I mean, it was a challenge. That was my special request. I had seen before we went to Aruba, I saw that they have flamingos on this little island, like right off the coast of the main Aruba island. So I was, you know, I emailed MJ, the editor, and I said, please, can we shoot with these flamingos? I really need to meet them in person. I love animals, so any opportunity to interact with a special animal or any animal, I'm all about. So that was my special treat, and I'm so glad we got to do it. But oh my God, they were very temperamental. They did not want to get in the photo. They were eating my clothes. They were biting everyone.
Well, they're definitely very, very territorial for sure. But we had a group of people wrangling them. So guys, when we work with animals a lot with Sports Illustrated Shoot, MJ Day loves bringing us to places like Kenya, to places like Aruba, where there are a lot of animals. And we're all animal lovers. And people don't realize how challenging it is to be on set shooting with animals. First of all, you got to let animal do what animal want to do. And I think over 50% of the footage we have of all the flamingo are like right here in front of your face.
They were not cooperative.
They were not. Well, give us a little bit of journey of how you end up at Sports Illustrated.
Oh, wow. I mean, it was really, journey is the right word for sure. I casted with them more than once. So like, one of the things that I love doing when we work with Sports Illustrated is I have to turn my television off.
She'll be right back, guys. So, then there she is.
I'm sorry. You know, Instagram Live, it happens. So one of my favorite things that we do when we shoot with Sports Illustrated is we do also the open casting with models that want to be in the issue, want to meet the people behind the issue. And we as models get to meet with them as well. And, you know, it's so many women show up and only like 16 usually get through to the final round of consideration. And everyone that I meet is always so upset when they don't make it through. And all I can tell them is like, it doesn't always happen on your first try. And my best example is that it didn't happen like that for me. I casted with them twice. The first time I casted was, I want to say maybe 2010, 2011.
Wow.
Yep, I met with MJ, and of course she's super sweet. Everything went great, but it just wasn't my time.
It wasn't your time.
You know, I went in again. What was the first year I did it?
18.
2017 was
you
my
shot 2017, right?
Yes. So it would have been 2016 that I casted. Went in again, and you know, it was just good timing, and it clicked. But it was something that I've wanted for a really long time.
And why is that? Why is it that this was on your list of something you want to achieve?
Well, I think most superficially, I'm pretty ambitious, and after working in the industry for a long time, it became pretty clear that my realm, like my wheelhouse, was definitely more lingerie, swimwear. And for me, this is really like the pinnacle of all the jobs that you could have done inside of that wheelhouse. So for superficial reasons, you know, I was like, well, I want to do the best of the best. And outside of that, since MJ took over as editor-in-chief, I mean, she's really molded this magazine into something that is so powerful. It's something that I really believe in wholeheartedly. I think it's so good for women. It's so good for everyone. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And now that I am, I know I'm not wrong. I wasn't wrong. You know, it's such a special, it's really a family.
And it's interesting because if you guys haven't had a chance to watch, I did do an interview with MJ Day last week, and it's on YouTube probably later today. Make sure you check it out. And we did discuss the evolution of Sports Illustrated, and I've been in with the franchise for about 10 years now, shooting for the magazine. And I have learned a lot through that evolution as well, from editor to editor. And MJ did take over and put a big stamp of approval to women empowerment, self-love. I think it's so ever important to discuss that. And that's something that I think you really begin to embody. You begin to really took that as a mission for yourself. Because I know that when you were modeling in the beginning, you had struggles. You struggled with the industry quite a bit. Share some of that story with us.
Well, I was scouted when I was 16, and I've just always kind of been the size that I am now, which is a size 8. I guess maybe I was slightly smaller when I was 16, but it's always just kind of been this. Like,
so is size 8 considered straight size? Is that what they call straight size modeling?
No. Which was the problem for me, especially back then. Straight size would be like a size 0, 2. So during that time, there was no place for me, really. The scouts that I worked with, you know, brought me to an event where I could meet with agencies, and everyone told me I had to lose weight, which was kind of impossible for me. You know, my hips just are the size that they are. There's no way to get them smaller. You'd have to like shave down my bone. And I just couldn't. I tried so much to make that work, you know, and I just couldn't do it. There's nothing that I could have done to have lost that weight.
What was it about modeling that with all these people telling you you can, you should need to lose weight, but you can't be this heavy? What was it in you that let you stay? Because a lot of people say, well, you know what, if this is what you want, I don't have it, I'm leaving, right? People quit jobs all the time. What is it about this particular career that you're like, no, I'm staying and I'm gonna own it?
I mean, I definitely love proving someone wrong. I won't lie about that. You know, I'm like, oh, you don't think I can do it? Just watch me. Just watch me.
But isn't it funny enough that you were scouted at your size 8 already at the time, yet then you still need all this approval from others that you need to be something else? It baffles me, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't end there. Eventually, when I was accepted by an agency, it was on the plus size board,
Okay.
which
Anything above a 2 all of a sudden plus size about 6 years ago, by the way.
Yes, yes. So I was a size 8 then. I was on the plus size board, and then I was being told I had to gain weight, which is, I mean, talk about messing with your mind. So I would be sent to castings and they would tell me I was too skinny. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be at this casting.
So guys,
yeah, I mean, it took a really long time for me to find my footing.
And that's interesting, I think, for the viewers need to know is that in modeling, there's so many different categories. We call them commercial models, editorial models, runway models, and then there's size differences of petite. Beauty models are usually shorter, lingerie models are curvy. We're in this industry of categorizing people, so much so that it becomes such a pressure to find a place that you can fit in. And no pun intended, but you know, and for me, knowing that you had that struggle, constantly fighting to figure out where you belong. Do you know at what pivotal point in your life you said, I belong here and this is a size I'm comfortable with and I'm living with this?
I think maybe I was in the industry 5-6 years before that really happened for me. It was a long journey. And I think part of that came from me finding my voice outside of the industry, you know, really focusing on my art, on my photography, and realizing that I could become, I don't know, like an entity outside of what I was doing. And through that, through me establishing myself as someone more than just a model, that was when I started to see, you know, momentum building within my career. And really, it's only been within the past, I don't know, 2-3 years that women who are in between straight size and plus size are really starting to work more, like to have really steady clients in the industry.
Which is very interesting because that there are more in between sizes in this world than the size 2s and the 1s. And this happens because in the fashion industry, samples are made and samples are usually made from size 2 and size 0 because they appear a certain way the designer like them to appear on the runway. But that doesn't always fit the mold of real people, everyday people, right? So when you decided, okay, I'm here with all this negativity, how do you still get up and go to casting, knowing that somebody might say no to you? What is it about you that makes you not stop?
I mean, I'm really ambitious. No, I won't lie. It is really difficult to face so much rejection all the time. And I think people have a misconception that once you start to work more or you gain more success, that those kind of rejections stop, that you're not consistently still being rejected. And it's not true. I still am rejected from jobs all the time. And what I find the most challenging about that is that most of the time you have no idea why. They don't give you a reason. They say no and that's it. And
it's hard because we're using that word rejected, right? And the fact is you're not really rejected. You're just not accepted at that moment. It could be somebody else who fit that particular clothes or particular concept better. But it is hard because for photographers, we go through the same thing, right? We go through people go, oh, Yu Tsai shoots sexy, and that's what he does. And they don't look at me and go, can he shoot editorial? Can he shoot super high fashion? I started in high fashion. I love high fashion, but we are in an industry that categorizes people, not just models, but also photographers and everybody within the field. Same with hair and makeup people, right? They're like, oh, that person's really good with commercial looking hair, or that person looks really good and does really good makeup that's more playful. And the fact is that we're not singular task-oriented beings, right? Well, multitaskers, multi-talented people. And that, I think, happened in the last 3 years. I think people begin to see that through social media, through the fact that you get to have your voice through social media, that people don't see you as a two-dimensional model anymore, that you have a voice. And your voice speaks loudly.
More control over your image. In the past, it used to be clients would see your book and your agents made your book, and that was it.
That was it.
And that was how they saw you. They only saw what your agents wanted them to see. And now you can show them whatever you want.
And I remember when the industry changed, agents were going crazy. They're like, oh my God, don't post this. You can't do this. They lost control, right? They really lost control of the
I remember when Instagram first really started, everyone, you cannot post from set. Don't post a single thing. Never post, never post. I was looking back through old emails and I saw an email from an agent that was saying, you know, you don't want to post from set. You don't want other girls to know what clients you're working with because then maybe they'll take them or this or that, you know, and now everyone is like, post as much as you can, post all the time, every day.
Well, that definitely happened on my set. I remember the first 5-6 years was like, no cameras allowed. At some point when we're shooting A-list celebrity, there'll be a box that people have to put their phones in. And now everybody's like this, you know, everybody's on the phone. They're like, did you get content? Did you get content? And that became a new norm. And there are positive and negative side to it. But I think the negative side is so distracting as a photographer when everybody's doing their phone thing. It took me a while to get used to it. Like, oh, it's okay. It's not my sit any longer. It's everybody else, everybody's sit.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's amazing that you can be okay with that because I know a lot of people still aren't.
Yeah, there's still close sets. Well, we know you have a lot to say. And when you did this shoot with Taylor, in your own words, let's talk about those words.
Yes, yeah. That was a really special project. It was so amazing to work with Taylor, someone that I consider a friend. She photographed my wedding, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really just wonderful to be in this closed environment with only women, super empowering, and to really be able to, you know, feel like I was controlling everything that went into it on my end.
And this is really special because usually when you're on set working with a lot of photographers, predominantly men, and that's just because the industry's overabundance of men photographers. And this particular shoot was so important for MJ when she created together with Taylor that it was a women photographer from a women's perspective, and you guys got to create your own words and own poses. It was your own messaging. So it was truly special. Tell me a little bit about what's different between shooting with a men photographer and a women photographer.
I think one thing that is really special about shooting with a female is that they are very conscious of the body in a way that sometimes men are not. Mm. I think women have an innate eye for knowing how a woman wants to look, or how, maybe more importantly, how she doesn't want to look, and can kind of work within that.
I think what you're saying is that when we're going to look at your photography in a minute, because point of view is so important. From a men's point of view, a lot of time is what straight men think women are sexy, and therefore they capture in that way. Again, we're being trained over time that this is what we think sexy is what sells. And then women comes with such a different perspective and different point of view. And through the last few years, we really celebrated that point of view. And there's so much more women photographer in the industry now. And also in Sports Illustrated swimsuit, there are women photographers shooting women. And even with brand like Victoria's Secret finally figure it out that having women photographers, you're going to get a different type of look. And I mean, as a gay photographer, I always have approach women in a different way. And you and I shot together, and so you know, it's more about rhythm and the movement because I'm a dancer in the background training. So I get lost in the sexuality of it, more in love with the beauty of it. I remember when I first started shooting a lot for this brand, guest for a few years in the very beginning, and I was shooting uber sexy because that was a trend at that time. I mean,
Sure.
your cleavage is not showing full cleavage and just barely covering your nipples, then you're not shooting sexy, right?
Right.
Everybody's showing, and that's the fact. We have evolved since, and hopefully that brand will evolve as well. But when we're shooting that, I remember after I would show up on set with other clients who hires me, they all like, "Oh, we thought you were straight," and I would ask them, I said, "Why?" Because look like you want to sleep with them the way you shoot them. And I go, well, I do. I want to be cuddled. I want to be in a little fetal position with them. I want to be loved by them. I want to be nurtured by them. And that's when I realized how powerful the lens has, how you approach photography. In fact, those conversations started to shape me as a photographer I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to shoot for SI because I wanted to be presenting work out there that empowers women. And yes, we shoot wide range of work. We shoot work that's a little bit more sensual, sexual. And there are days, SI back in the days, we're shooting, you know, just seashell covering the chest and a little palm leaf covering, you know, the private areas. But as we have evolved, as the world have evolved, I think we begin to create those messaging a little bit more differently. And I think it's so important to have your kind of voice, because I know that when we're on set together, I would push you to be sexy. And you would look at me and said, I'm going to give you what I think sexy is, not necessarily what you think sexy is. And that is so empowering. And that's such a great connection to have between a subject and a photographer, you know?
Yeah, I think so. It's the connection is so important. That's beyond the most important. And that's one of the things that I love about shooting with you is that it's like an instant connection. You know, you make it so fun, and you can tell that you have been doing this for so long because you're so well trained into creating a mood that's easy, feels comfortable. It's
while it doesn't always feel so comfortable being a tutu on top of rock. Let's just say that was not I want to pop that. I mean, finger pointed perfectly, hand caressed it perfectly, toes are pointed. You can't even do this on the ground on a TikTok
on like
challenge.
A boiling hot rock with waves crashing on us and paparazzi like
everywhere
with super zoom lenses in the background somewhere
while you're wearing a tutu. I mean, why not, right? And that's
you know, people will do this for you because you make it so fun, because you make it so like it was just laughing and joking the whole time, you know. And that's what I love on set. I'm the happiest on set when I can be comfortable with the people around me.
Well, I want to talk about a couple of these words that you have on here. What evoked you to write those words? Because those are your own words.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot in my life. I don't need to go all the way into it, but I lost both my parents at a very young age. I moved to New York by myself at 18 with, you know, no money. I've been on my own for a long time. And I built my life to be what it is, you know, with a lot of support from my loved ones, but, you know, a lot by myself. And it's been a struggle, but it's also been super rewarding. And now I'm in a place where I live comfortably. I'm able to pursue my passions, and you know.
Where did you find that strength? Where did you find that strength? I think that's so. We all go through a different period of our life that it seems like impossible to get through. And I know you. We talked about this before. Without going too deep into it, I know that your story inspires so many people. But be able to say strength from within. What was that? What was that spark? What ignited that? And for you to be as powerful as you are from inside out?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just was born to. I mean, you gain so much strength just by getting through all the crappy stuff that happens to you in your life.
Mm.
And, you know, I guess in the moment, all you have to really think about is getting up the next day, opening your eyes, getting out of bed, and living another day. And when you do that, those days, it's one day at a time, and it stacks and it stacks and it stacks. And each day you get stronger and stronger. And then eventually you're through whatever you're going through. And you're so much stronger. And you build those experiences on each other. And next time it's not as hard.
And it's about accepting who you are, right? At the end of the day, you are looking at a reflection of yourself and be able to accept, this is who I am. These are my qualities, and I have more qualities I will share with you, et cetera, et cetera. But I know I've done so many interviews. I've talked to so many different models. Each one of us as human beings, we go through different type of struggles. And for you guys are living your struggles in front of the camera all the time. And that's something that I am incredibly proud of you. What you do is that when you show up on set, there could be 20 years, 15 years of crap load of stuff on your back, but you don't show it, right? You show up and you present that day, your best day forward. And then you leave, and then that baggage sometime will come back again. And that must be so crazy of a struggle to juggle all that emotions all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I say it a lot, and I'll never stop saying it. Therapy, therapy, therapy. I think it's so important, and it's so helpful, and there are so many resources now for finding a good therapist. It's so important to talk about what's going on inside of you. I just can't say it enough.
Well, we know we read a lot of stuff online that you're activist, you a feminist. So I want you to define that for us, because there's so many spectrums of feminism, right? So
Sure.
what does that mean to you?
To me, feminism means that women should have equal rights as men, and that women should be able to pursue and do whatever they want in life.
And
that's it. And that can mean if you want to be a stay-at-home mom, or you want to be a wife that doesn't work, or have kids or not have kids, or never get married, you know, you can
or even be sexy, right?
If you want to take off your clothes, if you want to keep all your clothes on, you know, you should be able to do whatever you want, and that's your choice.
And I think that is so important, because I know that when you came out with the article, and I read all the article you put out there, that some people gave little negativities coming your way saying, wait a minute, you're modeling beautiful swimsuits and you're skimpy and you're showing your skin. What does that mean in your ideology of feminism? You know, and it's so good that you can define that. It's not about what other people think. It's rather than what you believe, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's always been a complicated conversation with especially with brands like Sports Illustrated. You know, a lot of people will say, you're selling sex. How is that empowering women? How can you call yourself a feminist brand? And I have found so much empowerment through working with this brand, and I know that it is a core tenet of the brand. And if you really pay attention to what they're doing rather than looking at it in passing, you can see that every year the envelope is getting pushed further and further. The issues are becoming more and more diverse. Women are given more and more of a platform to speak on what they want to talk about. You know, I think it's about showing women's strength, and it's okay to be sexy and sensual. That's part of your strength. And, you know, if you're not comfortable with that, that's fine. You don't have to look at it. You don't have to do it. But there's nothing wrong with women that are comfortable with that.
And I think the brand has evolved to that, where your voice, what you're saying now, is resoundingly loud. Because 10 years ago, when I first started shooting it, I honestly have to say that I didn't ask what the model felt. I only care what I think the image delivered when I photographed them, whether it's sexy, whether it's majestic, whatever the vocabulary or adjective that we give to. There was not much thought put into what those pictures can bring to others who look at it. And as a photographer, the last 3 years, has evolved so much for me is that I have to be responsible now. What I photograph and who the model I choose and how do they want to portray themselves. Now, I don't always have to agree with them. There are models that show up that still, you know, I want to just be naked. I want to be free. And I'll embrace that. And there are models just like, I'm modest. I'm not giving you my butt cheek, or I'm not giving you my cleavage. I want to be covered up. And I mean, Hamina, I shot with beautiful burqa, you know, like a burkini. And it was the most educational experience for me to shoot women in the way they felt sexy, you know?
Yeah,
And,
I mean, and Halima is so special because she just has so much light inside of her. She truly, if I could ever think of someone who like she's like the definition of glowing from within, really.
yes.
You know? So she can work anything, especially a bikini.
Yeah, and she did. We got to work together for the very first time she ever shot for SI was on my trip, and it was pretty magical. It was really magical.
It's moments like that. How can you look at a shoot like that is so groundbreaking and say that Sports Illustrated is not supporting women?
And it takes time to move that meter, right? It takes time to really to bring that message across. And I'm so happy you're part of the family, that you're pushing that messaging. And now I want to talk about your point of view. And the best way to talk about your point of view is through your photography. Now, I didn't know that you were so talented. Your work is incredibly beautiful. And before I show some of the examples, what inspired you to pick up the camera and shoot?
Oh, I come from a family of artists. My grandfather was a visual artist. My uncle was a photographer. My mom worked a bit with photography. So I think a love of the arts has always been really deeply ingrained in me. And I started shooting photos when I was a teenager. We did a class in school where we learned how to use the darkroom. And right. I just really fell in love with it. I fell in love with the process, and I've just been kind of doing it since. For me now, the thing that I love the most about shooting is working with women and being able to portray them in a way that feels very real and feels like, I mean, my goal is to represent women in a way that they look at and they say, I see myself truly in that. Like, I look at that and I feel like this is really, really me, and it's really, really who I am.
Authenticity.
Yes. Yes.
And
I do almost no retouching, you know, and I'm very conscious of making sure that the women that I work with are comfortable and that they're comfortable with the final product.
There's a very beautiful, poetic way you photograph people. And there's a nice quietness to it, but it has such a powerful messaging. Let's talk about this picture, for example. Where was this, and what was your point of view in this photo?
So this photo was for a story I shot for an art magazine called Hearts. And the idea behind the magazine has a different theme each issue, and for this issue the theme was adolescence. So I was really thinking about growing up in Wisconsin and how I used to spend my time as a teenager, which was just like going out with my friends and walking around, and that's kind of it, like going to diners and sitting there until our curfew and drinking coffees and, you know, I grew up in Wisconsin. There was nothing to do. So.
But she got all dolled up for this trip.
I mean, that was our night out. You know, we would like put on our makeup and our nice clothes and go sit around George Webb's diner and eat, you know, loaded French fries.
That's a good living. I like it. I like living the best life. I'm waiting for that moment again. Get all doll up and go to a diner and just have a little bit of French fries. That sounds really, really good right now. Were there any photographers out there that inspired you?
I love Lauren Greenfield. She has an amazing body of work and has covered so much in her lifetime, and so much of it really focuses on women's issues. The first book of hers that I found was called Girl Culture, and you know, it's a collection of photographs of women and girls of all ages, all backgrounds, and I think it captured so much, and it felt so close to me. I think, you know, she shot it kind of in the early 2000s, over the course of a few years. And that was really, you know, I was like 12, 13, 14 during that time. So, you know, those years are really precious to me. And to see this collection of work that I could look at and feel like she really captured, you know, parts of my life and represented it in this really beautiful way. I love her work so much.
Well, I feel like your work is photojournalistic of your reflection of your life. When I look at those pictures and knowing who you are, I go, you're capturing a moment that you 100% relate to, that you probably experienced and you lived through it. And there's a very interesting way of capturing that, because in the fashion industry, we try to capture fantasy, right? We don't want to see reality. We don't want to know what a reality is, right? We want to know that we can sit on top of the Eiffel Tower and wearing a long gown that dripped to the ground for Harper's Bazaar, or standing on the back of a zebra and still, you know, in a ball gown, and very fantastical. But your work reminds me of Sally Main, who just photographed what's in front of them, like just the effortless confidence, like early Peggy Schroeder, you know, I used to work with women photographers a lot when I first started in the industry. I used to be a treatment writer for a lot of women directors in TV commercials. So I think that attribute to a lot of my sensitivity of how to approach work that's more feminine way, in a way of understanding the softer side and the edgy side. So my graphic design background comes in and clashes with my understanding of the feminine side. And so kind of finds that balance. What I think your work for me, it's like poetry. There's you can hear the music to it. You can, when I saw it for the first time, I was like, wow, why isn't she working more? So guys out there, why isn't she working more? That's what I want to know. Why
Put me on a job.
Why isn't she shooting more? Because you know, like these moments, why not in Harper's Bazaar? Why not in Vogue, right? And I think, have you shot yourself a series of fashion in this way, like self-portrait series?
I've shot a self-portrait series, but it was all nudes.
Well, I'd love to give you a challenge now to actually photograph yourself in fashion. The way you would shoot fashion, it will come from such a unique perspective. I think could be incredibly beautiful. And yes, I love for you to
try that.
It would be amazing, because I think what you'll bring to it is a little bit more sensuality, and you're always going to be a sexy girl in my eye. That's just your DNA. You can't hide it. I'm not going to try to hide it. But the fact that if you were in this picture, you will give another edge to it. And that could be really, I mean, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, there's a balance between fine art and commercial. Do you find yourself struggling with that as you're shooting? Like, if this commerce is able to financially support?
I mean, yes and no. I think I still have a studio practice. I'm still working really for myself and creating imagery for myself. So I feel like that's still my driving force, is just creating a beautiful image for myself. I mean, maybe when I'm getting more paid bookings, I'll feel differently. But I think, you know, for me, like what you were saying about how fashion is so much about the fantasy, and that's where the beauty is found. I feel like the beauty is really in reality. So finding the beauty in these very real moments. And I also think that's really the way that our industry is going now. You know, of course, there's a big movement for the unreality, you know, the Instagram everything is curated, everything is filtered, everyone has fake eyelashes, everyone has injected lips, everyone is like contoured within an inch of their life. But there's another moment happening, and it's about finding something real among us all. And
sometimes the most mundane are the most beautiful, right? It just,
yeah.
And I think I would love to see how you evolve as an artist over time, because I know I went to art school and I came out, and before I even graduated, I decided I'm never going to be a fine artist. And not because I don't appreciate fine art. Because,
I mean, the struggle is real. For sure.
Yes, that's a real struggle. For people who even think that they want to be a fine artist, already they won on my list because that's just impossible. And for me, I made a conscious decision. Okay, I was fine art major. I had to change it to directing and commercial work because I purely based on survival. Now, would I love to go back and paint again? Of course, but can I ever paint like Lucian Foy? No, so I give up. You know, like I have this thing in my mind that says if I can't achieve the best of that, I don't even attempt and do, and that's something I'm constantly working on. Like, try it, keep going. You might surprise yourself. You know, and that's what I think I should say about your work: is push yourself. Stay in that art world. I love to see that you stay in this world where you capture moments like just the stare, but then begin to inject the world that you're in, which is fashion, Calvin Klein, Chloe, or whatever that may be. And I love to see what that come together, because for me, it's still a constant struggle. There are days people say, oh, Yu Tsai is so commercial. He shoots commercial work. You want to sell something, shoot with him. But if you want to like just be editorial and cool, he might not be the right one. And then I was on, and I get really upset. I'm like you. I get really upset. I go, next shoot, I'm going to totally go editorial on purpose just to just to prove them wrong, right? And that's a lovely thing about the industry we're in, that we have different magazines and different outlets to do that. And that would be so beautiful to see how you convert what you do into fashion. There's a magazine that if you can find it on eBay, look it up. It's called Dutch. I don't know you know Dutch. Before your time. So it is today, it's still today my fashion Bible. Because when you see how that magazine captured Guinevere, how they capture Karen Elson, it's not far from what you're doing. It's a pure essence of the innocence of the model, but just happen to have fashion clothes on. Why not? So that's your challenge. I'm giving you homework.
I love it. I love an assignment.
Well, you know what would be another interesting thing I wanted to ask you is that, have you ever thought about shooting in this style, this approach, by shooting men?
I've thought a lot about shooting men and how that is something that I need to focus more on. Just because I'm so comfortable with women, it feels like it's second nature to me. And
Same here. You would think I like to shoot men, but I'm like, it's a little awkward. I
mean, it's definitely something that I've thought about. I've been thinking for a while and kind of mulling over a project in which I shoot men like in women's clothing, but not in a drag way.
Oh, I love that so much.
Like finding the softer, the femininity in men.
Do you know Wolfgang Tillmans'
like in a masculine man, because I think that's also something that's kind of overlooked. I feel like when we see these images of men that are feminized, it's in this really like over the top, in your face kind of way. Like
it's always screaming.
Is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right. There's definitely a. Have you seen Wolfgang Tillmans' work?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah, very tender.
Yes, listen. He goes for like the redneck, the drunks, and the moment of reality, and he makes it into these crazy art form. But the reason I said that because the way you lens your subject has that spontaneity, and you're like observer. You're not in there. And very different than how I approach photography. I'm in there, right? When you shoot with me, I'm like, I'm like right here.
Way in it.
I'm in there. I'm like, what's inside your eyes? I need to see it. I need to know what you're thinking, right? Literally, that's how I approach my art. Rarely do I go, okay, you go all the way out there, and then I'm gonna peek through the bushes and find you. But that's something so special that you have. I'm so proud of you as an artist, as a photographer, and I know your work. You will work. You just have to.
Oh, that really means a lot to me. Coming from you, especially.
I'll tell you a funny story, and this is about photography. I know that offline we talked about photography a little bit, so I'm gonna give you a funny story. That when I first started shooting, I couldn't get women to shoot with me because they're like, oh, he must be a creepy guy, whatever, and I just didn't get models very easily. And then I ended up getting like male models, and let's call them male models right now, but they were like wannabe male models, and because I couldn't and I couldn't get fashion clothes, I ended up just shooting jeans. And there would just be, jeans and underwear, and my entire book just looked like boys in jeans and underwear. It was, and it wasn't until I met a friend of mine that worked with Mario Testino, works with every big name you can ever imagine. She was an art buyer at Shai Day, Jakisha, and she has her own agency now. And you know what? You actually be a good pair for her. The work, the way she represents the artist, the type of artist that she represents is very much like your area. And she had looked at my book and said, you have a lot of talent, but stop shooting crotches. She's like, I do not need.
To hear, but sometimes you need to.
But can I tell you, I haven't stopped shooting crotches. I just shot a different sex.
Just a slightly different kind of crotch.
No, but the thing is that you well, my point is that you get lost in this vision of like what you can and cannot do, and then it takes somebody to come in, just kind of give you a little push. And I end up shooting Apple campaign with her. I end up working on Nissan with her. I end up like it was amazing to learn, and she gave me a present for my birthday one year. She said, I'm gonna give you a present that you're gonna come into Shai Day and come to the conference room. And I'm like, okay, am I in trouble? When I walked in, she had called in every top photographer's book, like Mazel's, and just in a conference room. And she said, this is your day. Now you're gonna learn photography. And I went through and they'll have chills. I went through and opened the portfolios and looked at them. And, I took my cell phone took pictures when I wasn't supposed to. This is before internet, you guys. I didn't have there was internet, but there was no Google or all the. Yes. I mean, I wasn't doing anything illegal. I wasn't selling them. But the fact is that was my education. That was my learning. Somebody said, stop shooting crotches and look at what's out there that really is working. And for me, I think you have a voice. You're an activist. You're a feminist. You define what those things are. You don't let people tell you what to wear, what size you should be. And that voice in photography is still very rare. So keep going. It's amazing. You inspired me today.
Oh, Yu Tsai, you are the sweetest. Thank you so much.
So what's next for you?
Well, now that I'm finally through the first crazy month of isolation, I spent the first month working on making masks at home. I made masks. I have one of my really close friends is a nurse in LA, and her hospital was running out of masks, so she asked if I could make some for her.
Well, let me know. I can deliver the mask you donate to her too.
Now they have more.
Okay, good.
But I was working on making. It was a long mask journey. The first 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So now that masks are starting to flow into the country and it feels like things are more handled there, I'm feeling more settled. So I'm getting back into my studio and I'm getting back to work. So I've been working on a lot of collages and hopefully, we'll be getting into some self-portraits soon. And then it's just who knows what is going on right now? Who knows when we'll be out of here and back to work? But right now I'm just enjoying my time here, being able to be creative in my own space, feeling really grateful that I have a studio in my house that I can work in and, give my husband some space.
Maybe you can shoot him. Maybe you can photograph him.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
because I think that's what this whole journey that we're all going through is a bit of a self-reflection time, and God knows that Let's Talk also really, it's my therapy, be able to speak to other people who inspire me and watch them grow. And we often forget you are a person with story behind you. You're not just a model in front of a flamingo. You know, we do live in this industry that we connect really, really quickly, and then you're apart really, really quickly, and you come back as if you never left. And somehow during this time, it has really made me realize that how important it is to not allow that connection fall apart so quickly. And the people who continue to just even contingent, energy, they come through. I mean, that's how I'm so blessed to have guests like you and then guests like Sports Illustrated with MJ that able to support this journey with me too. So I find this time a very grateful time to go through.
Yeah, and it's amazing that you've taken this time and made it into something really special and creative, and what you're giving to the world is wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to see more art from you. And you know what? DM me anytime, text me with photos. I love to see your work. I love to see you continue to progress, and perhaps one day you'll shoot for Sports Illustrated too.
Yeah, I hope so one day.
Well, then shoot some swimwear to show us what you can.
Yes, exactly.
MJ's listening. MJ's listening. I don't make commission, you guys. I'm just saying, I love her work.
He's just a good friend.
She can shoot sexy. She can shoot beautiful. And she comes from such a great, amazing point of view. Well, thank you so much again for your generosity, for the donation. It's going to go to amazing help and saving lives. And I am so happy we got to speak today.
Me too. I love you so much.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and join me tomorrow again for another lovely guest from Sports Illustrated. We're going to have Kelsey Merritt. She's going to be joining me tomorrow as well. So I'll see everybody tomorrow, and I will see you soon again, babe.